Today's an interesting one. I almost always teach federal sales, like, diving into the tactical. Here's how you use FPDS. Here's how you call people. Today's an interesting one. I'm going to be talking about value proposition and really understanding your value. And this goes back to this idea of you can wait for somebody to figure out your value, or you can figure it out yourself and then begin to communicate it more. So I wanted to just start with this. If you don't know your value, then how can anyone else know your value? If you don't know what your own value is, if you can't really communicate it to yourself and internally to your company, then how can anyone else know your value? They just really cannot. And so I want you to be able to figure out your value and to be able to document it and to begin to refine it down just to an easy message. It doesn't have to be this perfect thing. You just have to remind yourself of your value. One thing I do want to point out as we get started is your value is not you're a small business. In fact, I like to say you are not a small business. It's really important to keep that in mind as you're going after federal contracts, you're working with teammates, especially maybe large prime contractors. You are not a small business. You're not a veteran, woman, or minority-owned small business. You're a subject matter expert. You're a trusted advisor. That's why the government would want to work with you. That's why teammates would want to work with you, is because you are that SME, right? Because they can look to you as a trusted advisor. And you need to see yourself as such. When you see yourself in your subject matter expert position, then you're going to really understand your value and you're really going to be able to communicate it to somebody else. So today I'm going to cover down on knowing your value as a government contractor and how you can know your value. I'm going to go through a couple of exercises, but I wanted to start with just explaining what a value proposition is. If you haven't been to my trainings before, I really like just communicating things in my way. Right? I understand all the academics around it, all the formality around it, but I like things to be very simple. Before ChatGPT came along and everybody was saying, write something in 5th grade level, I was thinking in 3rd grade level. And the reason is because you like to take the complex or the jargon and make it easy for everybody to understand. And that's just kind of where I want to start with what's the value proposition. Then I'm going to talk about why is it important for you to have your value proposition understood by you and your company. And we'll cover into different audiences, right? Different audiences have different value propositions that will resonate with them. It doesn't mean you're changing your company up. I like to say if you have 6 things that are really great about your company, some people like to hear the 1, 2, and 3 first. Other people like to hear 4, 5, and 6 first, right? And so just understanding your audience when you're communicating your company's value proposition. And the last thing I'm going to do, I was trying to figure out how I can go through an example of this. I'm going to go through creating my value proposition. I actually had ChatGPT do it first. Then I did it my way and had ChatGPT take a second stab. And I'd be curious on which one you like and which one you see. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you and your company, is to be able to predict your success. We got 23 minutes. We're going to talk about what a value proposition is to start, right? And the easiest way of saying this is a value proposition is designed to answer the question, why you? If you're talking with somebody, like there's this old saying, I don't know if people really say it as much now, but we used to say this all the time, right? With them, what's in it for me? When you're doing sales, or really when you're doing anything, like if I'm trying to get a date, right? I think with them, that person, what's in it for them to date me? What's in it for them to meet with me? What's in it with this customer to buy from me? So think with them, because they're thinking, why you? Why not your competitor? And a value proposition answers that question. It doesn't have to be this overly sophisticated answer, but when you look at it, you need to look and go, is that enough of a differentiator, a value proposition? Are you proposing enough value to the other person that they can see that you would be able to solve their challenges, right? They want to know how you differ from competitors, but they also want to know, what are you good at? How will that align to the problems that they're having? If you've got a product or solution to a problem, first off, do you really understand their problem, right? And then helping them understand that our expertise does this. If I just use Trevor, who I used a minute ago, who says they're in an AWS stack, well, he said we're a software developer. A way he might be communicating that he's different from his competitors is he's saying we're a software developer and they're a software developer, but we specialize in the AWS stack. That's Amazon Web Services. He might even further differentiate that or point out the value is that we're an AWS partner as well. So we're partnered with Amazon Web Services to really understand everything that's going on to bring the best value to you. That's kind of what we're talking about, right? The fact that you have, we've been around 100 years, that's not really a big value proposition. The fact that your staff you have a retention rate of like 90% plus, that's a really good value proposition because it means people don't turn over. That means your customers don't have to worry about new people from your company coming in and out. And so you really want to talk about what you're good at and then what you can do to help them achieve their goals, right? Not just solve problems, but maybe they're trying to achieve goals. And I put this little red box here. I said, I was trying to figure out like, what's the basic example all of us should be able to see. And I think all of us should be aware that there's such a thing as superheroes out there, right? And so if you describe your favorite superhero and you were saying what the value proposition of this superhero is, right? Whether it's Iron Man or Superman or Wonder Woman or whoever, right? Could you describe the value? Superman, he can jump over tall buildings for whatever value that is. He's faster than a speeding bullet. So if a gun is ever fired accidentally and the bullet is going, Superman theoretically can grab it, right? Think about your company as the superhero. What's the value? What's your unique superpowers? For government contractors, when we think about a value proposition, you've got to think about why that value proposition is important, right? Where is it being used? What does it matter that I have a value prop? Well, the biggest thing that I put here is that it just helps buyers and teammates choose you. That's exactly what they're trying to do at various stages. They're always trying to choose you. It doesn't mean they're buying from you, right? Buying from you is the very last choice of a bunch of choices ahead of time to say, I choose you for talking to. So off of DSBS during market research, I did a post earlier in the week where I showed how one of my customers got contacted by the Air Force. And the way the Air Force did it is they went to DSBS, they did a lot of filtering, came up with 100 companies and reached out. And so the reason my customer was on that list of 100 companies that got contacted was because they gave the customer a reason to be able to choose them. It wasn't just that they had keywords, right? The keywords created the list, but when the contracting officer at the Air Force looked at their narrative, their write-up in DSBS, it communicated something that they said, let's go reach out to them. It helps when you're scheduling a meeting and you're sending an email out, right? People don't understand this. When you schedule a meeting, when you're trying to get a meeting, you call somebody and leave a voicemail, you send an email, and you're trying to get a meeting, the first thing many people do is go over to LinkedIn and they go, well, let me go see who this person is, because LinkedIn is becoming that visible for who we are. If I send you a meeting request or an email to ask for a meeting and you go look at me on LinkedIn, you can find a lot of stuff. This is why you want to be visible on LinkedIn, right? But your value proposition could be on LinkedIn. And it doesn't have to be necessarily in a statement, but like mine, if you look at my headline, it says something along the lines of, I help small businesses succeed in the federal market, right? And so your value proposition should be something similar to that in your headline and maybe in your banner. So when scheduling a meeting and people are doing their due diligence to decide whether to schedule that meeting with you, they're going to look at LinkedIn. And this is, again, going back to that getting selected. And then last one is in your first meeting, right? If you have a first meeting and you're going in there and you're talking about your company, you're talking about yourself, you're going to communicate your value proposition. And it doesn't mean, hey, let me tell you my value proposition. Throughout the meeting, you're expanding on the value to the other person, right? So that is your value proposition. It isn't just a statement, right? The textbook answer is it's a short summary. But really, in a meeting, it's a discussion. And throughout that meeting, you're communicating your value to the other person, the value proposition. And when you communicate it correctly, it's going to get you a second meeting and a third. I was talking to a customer yesterday who said, I got no problem getting into meetings with some larges, et cetera. But it never really goes past one or two meetings and then goes somewhere else. And I was talking about how we're going to help them really understand, first off, how to communicate their value in a way. Stop talking about being a small, start talking more about their value in cybersecurity, which is where their expertise is. And we call this shifting the authority in your favor. And your value proposition is one of the things that helps shift authority in your favor. It doesn't mean massive control or anything. It just means now they look at you as a subject matter expert, as a SME. Okay, I mentioned different audiences would be attracted to or resonate with different value propositions that you have. And I really just want to point out these two, right? You have the federal buyers and large primes. You could also have small businesses, but I didn't want the slide to get crowded, so let's leave them off for a second, even though that's exactly who you are. But when you're reaching out to federal buyers, I just put down 3 examples of what federal buyers would value. They'll value your core competency and your skills. What do you do? Oh, we do, just sticking with Trevor for today, apparently. We do software development in the AWS stack. Okay, I value that. And here's our skills. We have certified people. We're AWS partner. Wow. Okay, so that really is strengthening the skills and core competency side of the value proposition. You're really demonstrating to me your expertise. Now, have you been paid for it before? Yeah. Let me tell you about some of the experience. And it might be as simple as, we've done AWS software development projects in DHS, the Army, and Department of Education or something. It's like, okay, so you're getting paid and you've had some varied projects. That's good. It's showing me that you've got value around your experience as well as just your skill set. And the last one is what I call procurement easiness. I would love to make it a more friendly term, but what I mean by that, I don't even know if I spelt that correctly. But procurement easiness, what I basically mean is how easy is it for the buyer to reach you? And so that's part of your value proposition. It isn't all these weird things you have to come up with. It's like really creative things. Sometimes it's just how easy is it for me to reach you? Have you been paid for this before? So I don't feel like I'm the first one. And do you have a strong body of skill around this? Is that your core competency? If you've got that, then you're kind of attracting the federal buyer. That's examples of how you could look at shaping your your value proposition. I'm going to show you a little bit of examples through my bullets. And then the other one is large primes. Remember I said 3 or 6 different bullets you might have. Well, large primes sometimes look at a different set initially, right? We all look at all of them, but a large prime, they're attracted to agency intimacy. That means they're looking for teaming partners, small business teaming partners that can get them into an agency or can give them insight within an agency. If you're in an agency, so just sticking with Trevor and ProTech today, he's got extensive Army experience, right? Definitely down in Fort Liberty, which used to be called Bragg, but he understands the Army and he's in there. He's got a network, and his network is probably broadest in the Army. When he talks to a large prime, they're going to go, oh, okay, he's got an agency understanding or agency intimacy. Financial stability. This is really largest being attracted to how strong is your back office? Are you making money? And most importantly, do you have basically line of credits or things that if we bring you on as a subcontract and it takes 60 and 90, even 120 days, can your little company survive that and pay your people so they don't quit if it takes us a while to pay you? That's kind of what they're looking for, is do you have financial stability? And the last one, and these aren't in any order and they're not all inclusive, but the last one is solid niche. A large prime really is looking for solid niche. That is a good value proposition. We do software development on the AWS stack, and we're an AWS partner, and we understand the Army. Do you see how those are building up for ProTech with their ability to really demonstrate their value to a large prime if they're talking to them? And just remember, you're not a small business. I want to keep driving this home today. The fact that you're a small business, you don't want to ever communicate that in a way that's out there. But one other flip side to that, so don't communicate like that's your value. Your value is agency intimacy, solid niche, et cetera. But one of the values to the government of being a small business is that for a large prime, they take forever to turn. But for smalls, we turn on a dime. When you have, when the war in Ukraine kicked up, I was at an Air Force conference that all these leaders had to leave. It was their conference, but many of the top leadership had to leave, and the entire priorities with the Department of Defense really shifted, right? Of course, they're doing their stable long-range planning, but a lot of priority. There wasn't a war, and then there was a war in Ukraine, right? And so things changed. Small businesses can rapidly turn on a dime. And you don't have to be that grandiose with something that big or catastrophic. You can look at the government just has changing priorities. This thing wasn't here yesterday, and now it's here. Or I just had 2 people who won the lottery and left, and so I'm in a hole. Can you switch over or something? Small businesses have the ability to change around because Trevor is one of the owners at ProTech, I know. So that means he and his partner can make decisions on behalf of their company today. That's an advantage. You want to know your value. And as a small business, you don't say I'm a small business, but you do communicate the ability to change with your priorities. Okay, so I got 10 minutes left and I want to walk you through this. I'm going to shut up for 1 second to have you read this, but really quick, I asked ChatGPT to write me a value proposition as a guy who helps small businesses succeed. And read that for 1 second. And actually, it just occurred to me so many people listen to it on the audio. So let me read it myself for you out loud. So ChatGPT, not me with no input, ChatGPT wrote, open the doors to government sales. Our expertise turns the challenge of selling to the federal market into your next big opportunity. We guide small businesses through the maze of government contracting, making it simpler to find and win federal contracts. With personalized strategies, insider knowledge, and dedicated support, we ensure your business stands out and secures the contracts it deserves. Let us be your bridge to new growth and success in the federal market. Now, here's the problem with GPT. By the way, if you ever want to remember how to say it, I say chat, get paid today. Side box there. Okay, so this is what they wrote. It's respectable, but it ain't good at all, right? It looks nice. It's got nice sentences, but there's nothing in there that really says my value proposition. What makes Neil in the GovCon chamber different, right? So then I said, and this is what I want you to remember. I'm showing you me so that you can then, after this training, go do your company. So then the next thing I did is I said, let me take a stab at writing my own value proposition, starting with bullets. And so I just wrote down, my goal is I want to help small businesses grow in the federal space. Here's my differentiators. I was trying to write some bullets down, right? I have 20 years of experience in the small business. As a small business owner in the federal market. So I've been there and done every job that every one of you is doing. I've won contracts as a prime and as a sub in all of the top agencies. So Department of Defense, civilian side, DHS, VA, Army, Navy, Air Force. I have a lot of experience having won. I've developed and have a proven 7-step process for the federal revenue success, meaning I guide you down this process that I've taught. I've helped tens of thousands of small businesses in the last 6 years since I started the chamber, learn this process and understand that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. I teach the how every single day. I've done over 400 trainings, just like the one you're watching today, in the last 2 years. I have the largest GovCon newsletter on LinkedIn, surpassing even DOD's, right? So I have a big network out there, and I make my network fully available to my customers. Really, I make it fully available to a lot of people, just not as much, right? Where I can help, I help. Okay. Then I said to ChatGPT, why don't you write me a value proposition statement? And this is bigger than I want, but this is a good thing, using my bullets. And I'm going to read it for you in a second, but I want you to understand, this is what I recommend you do. Write down some bullets, then have ChatGPT write you a draft, and then look at that draft and turn it into your own. Most of what he's using or she's using in this draft are my words. So let me read it for you. After me writing down the bullets and giving it to ChatGPT and saying, write me a narrative, here's what my value proposition is. Transform your small business with proven federal market expertise. With over 20 years experience as a small business owner in the federal market and a track record of winning contracts with top federal agencies, I bring a wealth of real-world knowledge to your doorstep. My proven 7-step process for federal revenue success has been the cornerstone for tens of thousands of small businesses over the last 6 years. As a dedicated mentor, I have conducted over 400 federal sales trainings in the past year, teaching the how of government contracting daily. Go ahead and subscribe to the largest GovCon newsletter and LinkedIn for the latest insights. Plus, when you work with me, my extensive network becomes your network, giving you unparalleled access to industry contacts and opportunities. Let's unlock your business's potential in the federal market together. So I like it. It's good. I would edit it to my own voice a little bit more. But when you look at this now, this value proposition is still mine. ChatGPT wrote this thing for me. And it's what I want you to understand is to go through this exercise of writing down your bullets. Do this today and go, what are the things I can think of, right? We do software development on the AWS stack. We've got this experience. We're doing this. Whatever you can think of. I have extensive experience, and so I look at it differently. But even coming out as a brand new company, you should be able to do some bullets that then lead to a write-up. And you can just go to ChatGPT, I think you can get an account in there for free and just do it, or find a friend who's got it. By the way, if you don't have ChatGPT or any version of it, whatever other, like Google has one or somebody else, I don't really track that. But if you can if you don't have access to that, that should be something you have every single day. Just a quick sidebar, I use it every single day. I wanted to go into Excel. I just type in, how do I get A1 to do AB to do this? And it comes back and gives me the formula. It saves me a lot of time trying to figure that out. And I just paste it and it's done. I like the tool for what value it can bring. So hopefully you get that. Here's what I want you to remember out of today's training. And what I want you to do in here is go write down some bullets, right? Do that exercise that I did. Write down the bullets of what makes your company different, what you do, maybe some of your experience, maybe you've got unique SOCOM experience or something. Write those bullets down. Then use ChatGPT to get that draft. And if you want, just put into the chat prompt, please, and I can give you the prompt that I used to get ChatGPT to write my draft. And then finalize that draft and get feedback. Reach out to somebody and say, hey, can I just tell you what our value proposition is and tell me what you think? That big value prop that ChatGPT did for me, I would take that and try to shrink it down to at least 50%. Because I would want to put it in different places, and the current size is too many words. But I can take that down and go, well, what really is the most important? Is it important that I say this or this? And so finalize it, get some feedback from people out there. You could even put it on LinkedIn, by the way, as a post and say, hey, could you give me feedback on my value proposition? Just put it into an image or something, throw it up on LinkedIn and say, in the post, just say, could you give me your thoughts on this? Okay, so hey, if you want help in the government contracting space and you're doing $1 million plus, we've got a BD Accelerator workshop. Love to have you join us. We're lining up a March cohort that will be starting. Just reach over to govconchamber.com and learn more. You can learn about the workshop or course, and you can get access to a lot more information. As you go into the weekend, remember two things. First off, we've got more training coming up next week. So we do this every single week, every single day in the week. So watch the newsletter so that you can see what training's coming up. And then remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.